years ago, there was a player called Heyzeus, and he was using a borrowed blue gem in a tournament called S1mple Cologne 2014. Now, Heyzeus was not the best player in the world, and his blue gem was definitely not the best pattern out there either, but it still became immortalized as the Heyzeus pattern, a skin that is still legendary to this very day. And if that's what someone like Heyzeus could do just by using a knife back in 2014, well, what could the best player in CSGO do if they had an amazing blue gem today? Well, that is what this video is about. Now, this video is sponsored by Skinport, the easy-to-use skins marketplace where you can sell your skins for real cash. Skinport has a huge range of skins, over 220,000 of them at prices miles cheaper than the Steam market, up to 35% off. You can purchase skins in an instant, just pick what you want and straight up buy it. There is no need to deposit and there are no hidden fees. There's also a high definition screenshot feature built into the site itself so you can see exactly what you're getting before you buy. The site is also super highly rated on Trustpilot with a 4.9 out of 5-star rating. It is completely safe and reliable to use, so I highly recommend checking it out. Link is in the description. So there's this knife in CSGO called the Nomad knife. It's a simple but classy knife. It has some nice inspect animations, and for a long time it has been completely overshadowed by two other knives in its case. The paracord knife and the skeleton knife have always been a lot more popular, or at least they were a lot more popular until about 3 months ago, because at the end of November 2021, something kind of weird started happening. The price of every single Nomad knife in the game started going up. Now, I want to be clear just how f***ing random this was. Skins do sometimes suddenly start going up in price, but there is always a reason. The butterfly knife did it when the Spectrum case came out. The M4s have constantly gone up or down depending on whether Valve has nerfed or buffed one of them, but as far as the Nomad knife goes, nothing had changed, and whatever it wasn't natural either. Skins sometimes do go up a little bit at the end of the year, that's pretty common. What's not common is skin prices randomly f***ing doubling out of nowhere for no reason. And not only that, pretty much no one noticed it was happening. It was like half the community had been subconsciously tricked into buying this knife, and the reason for that was pretty simple. They had been. But what had caused it? Well, gradually, word began to spread about the phenomenon that people called the S1mple effect.
Every Nomad. Yeah, every single Nomad knife. And people say that it's because S1mple is using it and that it has been underrated the whole time, but I don't know if I buy that.
Now, Onapixel definitely made the idea of the S1mple effect popular, but you can tell from what he's saying that the rumor had been floating around for a while. It's not clear who was the first person to actually notice, but pretty early on you do find these odd Twitter chains where people had started to notice something was up, and S1mple's name is immediately brought up. But that comes back to the second point that Honor makes in that clip. Is it really true? I mean, if everyone's been saying it for months, it's very easy to accept that explanation as the correct one, but is it actually? Did S1mple really make these knives more expensive? Well, let's have a look at the evidence. On the 16th of October 2021, S1mple acquired this Nomad knife case hardened. This thing is worth $45,000 if you're wondering, and it's borrowed off another trader as I understand things. Now, the next tournament he played in was PGL Stockholm, where he used some borrowed Dopplers rather than the case hardened itself, but at the next event after that, the Blast Premier 4 Finals 2021, he was using it. And not only did Na'Vi win that tournament, S1mple did this in the grand final. And guess what? That tournament ended on the 29th of November, and if we look at the big jump in the price of the skin, well, it starts exactly when this tournament ended. Okay, so that's pretty cut and dry, but there's more evidence than just this. For example, if we go off buff prices, which are a bit more detailed since you get more sales than the Steam market, you can see there is another big price spike right around the time of the Blast Premier World Finals in mid-December. And, wait, what was that? Can we oh, would you look at that? There's S1mple and his Nomad Blue Gem. Oh, and fun fact, Na'Vi won that tournament and S1mple did this in the grand final. So, again, I think I'm spotting a pattern. And while I'm at it, I might point something else out too, because here is S1mple's Twitch page. The dude gets nearly 1 million views per stream. Now, I am no Harvard mathematician, but that number is kind of big. So, shouldn't these streams have similar impacts on Nomad knife prices? Well, no, actually, because S1mple doesn't seem to use the knife there, he uses a Talon Ruby instead, so it makes sense only to see these spikes when he's actually playing in a tournament, because that's the only time he brings out the Nomad knife. Now, despite all of this, I was still left wondering whether this wasn't just some massive crazy coincidence, because there's no other example I know of something like this happening before, and it's not like S1mple's the first ever popular CSGO pro ever, and I mean, you only see his knife a little bit in the tournament streams anyway. I had to look for it, it's not constantly on display, so I wanted to see whether there were any other CSGO pros using the Nomad knife, particularly some of the best players in the game. And out of the top 10 players on HLTV's Top Players of 2021 list, only one of them has a Nomad knife, and that player is S1mple. But player number 11, Device, does have a Nomad knife. In fact, he's got 2 of them and they're both blue gems, just like S1mple's, and he got both of them at the start of December 2021, so even more recently than S1mple. But Device hasn't played at all since he got these skins, like he's currently got busy filling in for him on NIP, so I don't think he's inspiring too many kids to use the Nomad knife. But what about other pro players? Like, there are definitely some very, very popular pros who aren't in the top 10, and maybe they've got something to do with this. Well, here is where I stumbled across something really, really interesting. So, for example, another person who owns a blue gem Nomad knife happens to be our old friend Munazy. It is exactly the same pattern as S1mple's 2, except stat track, and Munazy is a massive up and comer. He's making waves in G2, he's getting hundreds of thousands of views per stream, but he only got this knife 3 weeks ago, rather than 3 months ago. Now, another famous player with a Nomad blue gem is Stewie2K. Obviously, he's not had a great last couple of years, but he's not irrelevant. He's a very well-known player, and funnily enough, he has a Nomad case hardened blue gem too. It's not quite as good as Munazy's, but it is not shabby. But it turns out, he only got his 4 weeks ago. And hey look, Fallen, a legendary Brazilian player, has a Nomad knife too. For once, it's not a blue gem, it's a factory new slaughter. But again, he hasn't had it for long. In fact, he bought it like 2 days before I made this video. And this is where it dawned on me. These guys aren't responsible for influencing people to buy Nomad knives. Like, they got theirs too recently, the price started increasing months ago, they've got nothing to do with it. But I think S1mple might be influencing them instead. Such is the power of the S1mple effect that it even affects other pro players. Now, there is a bit more to this story that I think needs to be explained. Firstly, I think a really big part of this effect is the fact that S1mple is using a blue gem. You can see pretty much any type of knife in CSGO at the click of a button on CSGO Stash. But blue gems are an exception. You actually need a technical understanding of CSGO skins to get a look at one. And while I'm sure most people watching this video would know how to get an inspect link for a blue gem, your average Gold Nova 2 player who's watching S1mple isn't going to know how to do that. In fact, this is probably the only time a lot of players even see a blue gem. And these knives stand out. A good blue gem is unlike anything else in the game. There is a reason why knives like the Heyzeus pattern became so famous, and I think that is the main reason people actually noticed S1mple using the Nomad knife. If he'd used a Nomad knife fade instead, for example, I don't think there'd be a S1mple effect. Now, on top of that, it's important to point out that most, if not all of these Nomad blue gems these pros own are borrowed. S1mple's is borrowed, and I'm pretty sure everyone else's are borrowed too. Big collectors will lend them to their favourite pros. It's a very common thing in high level CS, but it's also another big part of the story. Given how much attention S1mple's knife got, it makes a lot of sense to see other popular players being lent Nomad blue gems as well. Other collectors would have wanted in on the action, and that's probably the reason why all these pros have the same type of knife. But of course, at the end of the day, that just ends up compounding things. Munazy might not be as popular as S1mple, but he's certainly helping. But at the end of the day, there is no getting past the fact that what you're seeing here is it should not be happening, it should not be possible. When it has happened in the past, it has generally been the result of some sort of elaborate pump and dump that ends in disaster. But in this case, it is actually natural, it is genuine demand, and it all comes back to S1mple owning this knife. He is so popular that he is literally breaking the laws of economics simply by using the skin. He's broken the Steam market without even trying, and as cringe as it may be, it kind of does show his godlike status in the scene. No player has ever had more influence, and it is just kind of nuts to see. But anyway, that's pretty much it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, and subscribe, massively appreciated. Otherwise, trust the numbers, not your guts. I'm Heyzeus. Thanks for watching. See ya.